Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something.
Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop. And on this episode, we've got part 2 of me building my audio recording desk for my music room. So let's show you where we're at now. Let me show you what I was talking about here with the not using nails, or I'm using a trim nailer here, but on this front part of this shelf, you know, it leaves a pretty good sized hole and you have to fill it in. So and usually the holes are a little too small for wood putty, so I'm going to use just spackling and then sand it, and then hopefully when I stain it, it will soak into that spackling and maybe, if I'm lucky, not make a huge noticeable, you know, little white dot where or lighter colored dot where I filled it in. So I'm waiting on this stuff to dry, and I'll have to sand it off, but come on, focus. There we go. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be okay. Can't really complain if it isn't, but you'll see, you know, on this long piece it was very difficult to put that bull nose on there and it actually stay in place, because none of that trim is ever really straight. You get a long length of it, you know, it'll tend to kick off one way or the other. So you need those little trim nails to line it up and hold it in place while the glue dries. So anyway, and then on the front sections of these pieces of plywood, of course, you'll see something like that, which is the side of the plywood, which is kind of ugly. So we put some bullnose pieces on that, and then on the sides I'll use some aluminum angle, and I can just glue it on there, and it'll you know, it'll hide that. So, and I had to put little tiny chumps right here to build that up, because it was just easier than trying to cut this piece like that, which I would just break off when you're moving it around. So, and then our there'll be like I say, a wrist rest here, and I did find a piece of black vinyl that I had from many years ago. I was redoing the console cover of like an older second gen Camaro, and but unfortunately that's not going to be long enough to do it in one piece, and I'm not about to try to sew it and then have a stitch in the middle of my wrist rest. So we'll just go down to the fabric store and buy a piece that'll stretch the whole 8 foot. So hopefully that won't be too hideously expensive. But anyway, and my rack rails and the rack mount computer case should be getting delivered today, which I know it just seems so odd to me, being kind of old school, to get something delivered on Sunday, but apparently as the mailman said, Amazon rules, so they can deliver stuff on Sunday now. So kind of crazy, but all right. And then all this stuff here is going to have to dry, which is fine because I got plenty of time, because we got to go get our hair cut today. The lady who does my wife's hair also cuts mine, so we're going to get that done, and that'll give this stuff all time to dry real good, and then it'll be hopefully ready to stain when we get back. Of course, not going to be staining it right away, obviously. I got to sand the filler off of that bull nose, and I don't have that top mounted down yet because we're going to I have to install the rack rails and check it and make sure they fit, and my gear will fit in there and all. So, but you'll get to see all that. Anyway, moving right along. I'm happy with it. It's came out way better than I thought it would. I am by no means, I will never claim to have good cabinetry skills, because that's I'm kind of more Grewish from Despicable Me. All my stuff would be like boilerplate and rivets, but this is actually coming out pretty well. So anyway, okay, so now I've still got the top mocked up on here, but I've got my rack rails installed and the server case, just to make sure that everything lines up and the equipment will mount in there okay, so in case the plywood didn't like tweak one way or the other, which plywood tends to do. And once we have it situated and everything's good, I put some spacer blocks in there to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to. And then now that we know that's all good, we'll go ahead and secure the top shelf down, and then we'll go ahead and clean it up and start staining it. Alright, so it's about, I don't know, probably 8:30, 8:45, something like that. And I got my coat of stain on it. Now this stain will eventually dry fairly flat. It's a wood penetrating stain, so it doesn't lay on top of the wood, it soaks into it. So that's will give a better color. And then that epoxy glaze coat that I was telling you about will be kind of like a clear coat, if you will, and that'll make it shiny. And then on any of the non-wear surfaces, you know, I can just use a clear polyurethane to, you know, just to protect the stain, keep it from rubbing off. So there we have it. And then we went and got our foam and our marine grade vinyl. So this is what we'll make our wrist rest out of, and that's going to be a project for another day though. But as I'm about out of time, but yeah, we're good. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. So this tomorrow night I'll put my clear coat on it, and then once that dries, then this section will be done, and I can start working on what I'm going to do for the, you know, the base and the legs and that sort of thing. But this is the major bit here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 3.